your goal for getting the leads fast is to set the appointment and of course run the appointment, and you increase that likelihood by doing appointment confirmations, warming the appointment a little bit, and then we can keep going down the funnel.
Hey Josh, glad to have you on the show today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Spencer. Excited to be here.
Yeah, me too, because it's actually not too often that I talk to another marketer, and generally not another marketer kind of outside of the construction space. And so we may be able to get a little deeper into the weeds today, which will be fun for us and hopefully really valuable for everybody listening. But I'm always curious, how did you kind of get involved with I guess marketing, but really as it's related and tied into construction?
Yeah, it's interesting because for the past 5 years I've been doing marketing, but I didn't start getting into construction and remodeling space until about a year ago. So previously I was working for a company that did web analytics for big e-commerce sites, excuse me. And so that was a good time. And I realized I want to explore some other industries, maybe explore working with different clientele, and joined Hatch, their local company where I live in Richmond, Virginia. And ever since then, it's been just an absolute blast. I love this industry. I love the people in this industry. Everybody's so authentic, so real, so genuine. And so I'm excited to be part of such a growing industry, especially in the most crazy year possible that I could have joined an industry. I was fortunate enough to join an industry that's just absolutely booming this year. So
Yeah, it's
all
been a
good stuff.
phenomenal year. Definitely glad that it's been deemed essential. And yeah, with everybody at home, people are like, man, I got to make this place better if I'm going to be here all the time. So let's do some projects.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. We built out an office space in Richmond literally just before COVID hit. So we renovated this whole office space. It used to be a warehouse. I think it was just some distribution warehouse. And we renovated the whole freaking thing, and then COVID hit and we couldn't even use it. So
Oh man,
we're
that's brutal.
slowly but surely getting back in here. I'm in here today recording this podcast. So yeah, thanks again for having me on, man.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, to kind of dive us in, one of the things that I think is relevant and prevalent in every industry is just leads come in and we don't get back to them right away. Stuff
Yeah.
happens. And so I know you kind of talk about as like speed to lead and that sort of thing, but I guess what are you seeing now coming into this industry? Like what's kind of the average out there? Are people good about getting in touch with leads? What's kind of your sense of it now that you've been in the industry for a little bit?
Yeah, after working and talking with contractors, and before they put a system in process, typically they'll follow up with those leads that come in through their website or Home Advisor or Modernize or whatever they're using to get leads, right? But it's the timely nature of it. They're getting to the lead, but they're not necessarily beating their competitors to it. And there's just some interesting stats out there. One stat that came out in particular from Modernize is you're 21 times more likely to close a deal if you get to a lead within 5 minutes. And most contractors aren't getting to new leads within 5 minutes. So what we're seeing on our side here at Hatch is we've got a cool product that helps people get to leads fast. But what we're seeing is uplift is around 20% if you can get to leads instantly and also get to leads over texting, because
Mm,
homeowners now more than ever before are preferring text messaging. So if you can get to leads fast and you get to leads over text first, and then of course follow up with the phone call and follow up with the email, then you're golden. But the key piece is speed. And then from what I've seen, Spencer, is also following up, because a lot of times you'll get a new lead, you get super stoked, you're like, yes, I just got this new lead. Looks like a homeowner wants to do a $15,000 project. You send the first email, phone call, text message, whatever, and they don't get back to you. A lot of times reps or call center reps or office managers, they'll just give up on that lead. So
yeah.
that's another thing I've noticed is just like, I guess the best way to say it is just like giving up on the lead.
Sure. Yeah. You definitely see that a lot. Well, let's talk about the speed thing, because I know,
Yeah.
a lot of people, they're in a sales role, they're super busy, like you said, we're just booming right now. Like, how do you how do you actually do that? Like, how do you get in touch with leads in the first 60 seconds? If we want to see that 20% uplift, or, whatever the stat, I probably butchered the stat, but I think that's really challenging for people, because it's like, hey, I can't always be sitting by the phone, or, so yeah, what's kind of your advice or guidance there to people to get to leads quicker?
Yeah, so a lot of times, if you've got web forms on your website, which I'm assuming most folks do, and I hope you do, and if you don't, you definitely need web forms on your website, so you have a way for people to reach out other than just a phone number. But whatever you're using as your form handler, your CRM, make sure that you're utilizing that to the best of your ability to get to leads fast. A lot of CRMs have features in place to allow you to get to those leads really quickly. Over email, for example, you can do like an auto response email and send them a phone number or something like that. That's the way to do it with the existing tools you have today. And there's a lot of, other options out there, and obviously, shameless pitch for Hatch, but you can use a tool like Hatch that can instantly text that lead, connect up to your web forms, and also drop a voicemail and leave an email to that lead, and then follow up until they respond. So really, it's just having a system in place, and that's the first piece. And once you kind of have that system, that technology in place, set some SLAs, right? So even if you don't necessarily have a system in place that's gonna give you that automatic response to the leads, set some SLAs, service level agreements. In my previous employer, we had those with these giant companies, but set those things internally to your employees, and say, hey, you're in charge of all the leads that come in from Home Advisor. It's up to you to get to leads, within a certain amount of time. So if you set those expectations up front about how quickly you want to get to leads, and you set that expectation to your employees, they're going to see results pretty quickly. So I'd say technology is definitely going to play a huge role in this process, but also just training on your team. Give them the templates, because that's another thing too. It's like, it's not just getting the lead, it's also using rinse and repeatable templates that are going to help book that appointment. Because really our goal here is to book that appointment. And what's funny is it was a story that came out a few years ago. It was Jeff Bezos from Amazon. He's the CEO. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Jeff Bezos, but he sat in a conference room and was with his whole executive team, and they were talking about customer service. And their customer service guy was like, yeah, we're the best in the business. We get to customer service requests fast. And Bezos was like, okay, let's put it to the test. And then he actually dialed the customer service number on the conference room table.
Pressure's on.
And I can tell you that must have been the longest 5 minutes of anybody's life that was in that room. Oh my gosh. So
Jeez.
ever since that day, Amazon's created this culture around getting to customer service requests faster. So when you guys are thinking, and I'm sure most of the folks listening here are contractors, and you got leads coming in, make sure you have a system in place. Get to leads faster. Think about the Amazon experience. Think about, you guys are, it's the holiday season right now. I don't know, whenever this episode airs, it's probably after the holiday season, but regardless, you guys are shopping on Amazon. You guys, for the most part, are getting great experience on Amazon. So follow a page out of their book, get to these leads faster, get to inquiries faster, and you'll see business results. We were talking about the metrics earlier, 20% uplift on average when you put a system in place in your business. And then another interesting stat is 78% of jobs go to the first contractor that gets to the lead.
That one's huge. Yeah, that's enormous. And I think that one for me really stands out, because the 20% uplift, you're going, okay, but just know, basically, 3/4, are going to, if you can just be fastest, and you're just first in the game.
And let's be real here. Most contractors out there are buying leads. They're not just funneling leads to their website. They also are buying leads from lead aggregators. And when you go through a Home Advisor or a Modernizer or an Angie's List or what have you to buy leads, they're shipping those leads off to 2, 3, 4, 5 other contractors. So if you don't get to those leads before the other contractors, your chances of even getting to that lead diminish. And then you've literally just wasted, I don't know, like $50 a lead on a lead you'll never even talk to. They booked an appointment with somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. And from what I'm hearing too, like this speed to lead process isn't necessarily like, oh, I have to reach out to them immediately to have this 30-minute call that I don't have time for right now. It's about booking the meeting. Is that kind of the play there, or are you actually trying, like, you need to have a system to get back to them but also have that conversation immediately?
Yeah, it's important to like probe what they're looking for, right, and qualify them. Spencer, I think you talked about this the other day, about qualifying people with web forms. So in your follow-up process, utilize the data that you have on your homeowner that you collect in your web forms to personalize that outreach. Obviously, your goal is to book the appointment with somebody that is a qualified homeowner, right? If there's a homeowner that comes in on your website that has $500 for their project and you sell bathroom remodels, probably not somebody you want to waste the time to bring a rep out or do a virtual appointment. So again, it's part of that qualification process, exploratory. That first initial message when you guys reach out should really be, of course, like booking, you want to book the appointment, but you also want to learn more about the project. So you send the right rep out. A lot of contractors have reps that are specific for certain, jobs and such. So, you want to make sure you probe the job a little bit. And that's an opportunity to just get the customer on the phone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of automation versus personal touch. I know you mentioned, just a second ago, kind of using existing technology. Somebody fills out a web form, you can trigger some stuff. Have you noticed, is there a difference, like if you use automation to get in touch with them within 60 seconds versus a personal touch, or does that not even matter? Is it just speed is number one regardless?
Yeah, I would say with your outreach and automated outreach it should be personalized. There's ways to do that. There's really clever ways to do that. I'll just tell you a few like tips right now. But yeah, speed is obviously paramount in this situation. But homeowner is less likely to bite on a auto response that to a form submission that's just like, oh, hi, first name, last name. This is Bob from Bob's Roofing. I saw you requested a quote on our website. Reply stop to stop messages. Like that kind of thing is not going to fly. So you need to take what's really cool is most CRMs have forms, right? So like I'm a big HubSpot user. You're a big HubSpot user. We can put in a million fields in these forms, and obviously you don't want to put a million fields in the forms, but you can put form fields in there that are going to help you personalize that outreach. So for example, you could have classic first name, last name, email, phone number, but you could also do type of job. And so what we've seen really successful here at Hatch is most of you guys are not just doing bathroom remodels, you might also be doing kitchen remodels. You're not just doing roofing, you're also doing siding. So give the lead an option to select what type of job they're looking for. And so when you do outreach, you can actually append those fields, like in less technical terms, you can just reference those things in your follow-up. So you could literally just say, hey, this is John from John's Roofing. Saw you requested a quote from some siding. Happy to help. Here's my number or what have you. So it's important to use the information you already have on the homeowner that you've collected as part of your follow-up process. And you can do that all automated because of the power of, being able to leverage your form fields in your follow-up.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I think we do a lot of automation that just looks like a one-to-one email to exactly what you're talking about. And you might as well, right? Because, those generic, auto responses that you could just tell you're reading this and you're going, okay, this is just my confirm that somebody, like, hopefully this went into their system and maybe I'll hear back. But if you just make that first outreach personalized, but it looks like it's actually written by somebody to somebody, then it just goes out and you're just waiting for them to hit reply. Is that kind of what you're going for there?
Yeah, Spence. And that's what I love about text messaging in businesses, because what we've seen folks transition from just using email as that automated follow-up to also incorporating texting. using our platform. It's incredible because you're able to send literally something directly to their inbox that references their name, what they're looking for, and there's nothing in there that makes it potentially look like spammy. And that's always an issue with emails, right? Is they can, especially if they're automated, they a lot of times end up in people's spam folders. So if you can't get the prospect on the phone, you might try also email, but then again, who knows, whatever you're using for email could all the time land in spam. So if you just look at the last email newsletter you guys sent out, look at the open rate, and if it's, below 30%, well, think of it in terms of the lead follow-up. How many people are going to actually open those emails, right? So definitely loop in text messaging in your follow-up. I got to make sure folks get that takeaway for sure.
Yeah. Well, and Josh, maybe you can share some just like typical open rates on, and response rates on like text versus email, because it's bananas.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. What's cool is we've got just a lot of insights because we literally see millions of text messages happen a week in our platform, and we're able to see which texts are responded to. So we just put out a stat in our state of remodeling ebook and said over 90% of text messages on the initial outreach. So when somebody submits the web form and you reach out via text, over 90% of text messages that we've seen on our platform sent from those types of outreaches are opened and they're responded to. So over 90%.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And that's because you're getting to leads as soon as they hit submit. So if you get to leads as soon as somebody hits submit, you're going to win. You are going to win. There's no question about it. Very few phones have like separated inboxes for unknown numbers versus known numbers. You are going to show up and it's going to be personalized and you're going to be successful. But otherwise, in terms of just general text messaging, let's just say you want to go after people that, were previous customers, or maybe even like people that you quoted that didn't buy. And we'll touch on this in a bit, but we see response rates anywhere from 60 to 80%. So definitely higher response rates on the initial outreach than other types of text messaging transactional things. But definitely really good to have in your business versus email. Like I mentioned before, it really depends business by business. I know here at Hatch, when we email a list of leads, for example, we'll get, anywhere from like a 40 to a 50% open rate versus, you look at, the text messaging and it's absolutely ridiculous. A lot higher.
Yeah. You're pushing, 80% minimum, but probably closer to 100, and depending on the list size and, who they are. Yeah. That's wild. Well, that's a good takeaway for me. We're not doing enough with texting. So
you got to do it. You got to do it delicately though.
You do.
That's the thing. It's funny because a lot of people just go gung ho with texting, and when they first want to get started with it, and they like just spam the heck out of people. So it's important to have that fine balance. And what we come to the table at Hatch is for home improvement is just like, here is the cadence that you should be following. Like day 1 text, day 2 give it a rest, day 3 follow up via text and voicemail. Just enough to make it so it's not just absolutely annoying. And then of course give the homeowner the option to opt out, and make sure you're reading those things when the homeowner says stop texting me, that you actually do stop texting them, because you don't want to end up on the naughty list.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I like that you say you got to be delicate with texting, but I think a lot of it comes down to the use case too. So in this instance, we've been talking a lot about a lead comes in, they are expecting a response, and you're just choosing the channel or the medium that I'm going to have the best chance of getting the response, versus just you're not going to blast out your email newsletter via text, with a link. And then that's maybe on the side of, well, you're probably going to get a bunch of opt-outs and maybe some spam or some, complaints. So I would imagine use case has a lot to do with it as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then also giving the homeowner the option to sort of choose their destiny. So on the form, you could say, reach out to me over phone, email, text. You could give that drop down and then reference that when you follow up, because If you do that, then that means the homeowner is going to be checking their phone for a call from you or checking their email from an email from you. So a lot of times what that does subconsciously to the homeowner is make them think, oh, okay, I know they're going to reach out to me. Because a lot of times these homeowners reach out to companies and they don't hear anything back. Like that's why we're having this conversation today, because speed to lead is a problem. So if you just imply to the homeowner that you are going to be reaching out in a specific way, that's gonna definitely help your appointment set rate. Because that's really the goal here, guys. Is like your goal for getting to leads fast is to set the appointment and of course run the appointment, and you increase that likelihood by doing appointment confirmations, warming the appointment a little bit, and then we can keep going down the funnel, builder funnel. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Oh yeah. that was clever. Yeah. Yeah. And well, before we go down the funnel, let's jump back and talk. You talked about follow-up earlier, and I feel like that is a huge problem area for I'll just say most salespeople. You kind of like, you get a lead and maybe you book an appointment, or, like something happens, but then it kind of dies off, and they go and they either ghosted you or priority wasn't there. Like how often should we be following up, and how important is it? Because, there's always a new lead coming in. Like, should we just be chasing the new leads, or following up with people that came in, last week or last month?
Yeah. Biggest thing is, sales reps don't like to follow up. In fact, like most of the contractors, most of the sales managers I've talked to say verbatim, sales reps suck at follow up. Like I can't even tell you how many contractors say that. It's like they suck at follow up. They want to hop from job to job. If they don't one call close that client, they're just going to move on to the next one, especially with demand being so sky high. But like, what do you do in the dead months, right? So like, if you have that attitude of not following up when you guys are busy, what's that say to your sales team when you're not busy, right? You need to create a culture of following up. And what we've seen here at Hatch is, sales reps, before working with us to automate that follow up, they'll maybe follow up with leads that get marked as like demo maybes, where they like demo them, set the appointment, run the appointment. And at the end of the day, the homeowner is like, we got to think about it, or they're kicking the tire, or they're getting other quotes. But maybe they'll follow up with those leads. But they'll definitely not follow up with leads that say, I don't think so. Right. Because a lot of times you just kind of give up, and it hurts. Like we've all experienced rejection in one way, shape, or form. I've experienced rejection when, I was 12 asking a girl out on a date, right? So like we all experience rejection, and we fear rejection. That's like a natural thing for sales reps, right? So if we can just like hone in on bringing up the objection, understanding the objection, and then training on how to handle the objection, whether it be price, product, timing, a bad rep, a crappy sales rep. There's so many different. If you can establish a follow-up process that helps you first surface those objections, you're going to be able to really be able to overcome those with the right, training and templates and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I feel like that always comes up with follow-up is, how do you follow up in a way that's not just, hey, just checking in to see what you're thinking, and then it's like, and then you follow up a week later, hey, just wanted to see where you're at with your decision. Is there, a more strategic way to follow up than just kind of the generic?
Yeah. Yeah. So if we're talking about follow up strictly related to like after you run an appointment, and I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
Sure.
That type of follow up should be designed to surface objections, and you should not be following up in a way like you mentioned, Spencer, where you're like, hey, just want to follow up on the quote. Hello, like it needs to be in a way that's like, hey, we came by the home, we showed you this, is there any reason for you not to move forward? That is a question that's worked out really well for us to surface the objection. Is there any reason for you not to move forward? Is there any reason for you not to move forward? Because when you ask that question to the homeowner, they're going to be more likely to respond in a way that's going to say why they won't want to move forward. And then as you go down in the follow-up process, or they will respond to that, you can be a little bit more specific. Was it price? Was it timing? I appreciate, any help that you can give me. And what we've seen work, and just going back to that initial question is, that question of, is there any reason for you not to move forward? That gives the home sort of behind a wall of their phone text messaging to really be honest with you as to why they can't move forward. Price is kind of an awkward conversation for anybody, like if you can't afford something and you're sitting in a room with somebody that provided you with a great sales presentation and you trust them, but you just don't have the money for it. And a lot of times homeowners just don't have the heart to say that, or they don't have the comfort in just being honest about what they can and can't afford. If you can surface that, especially over like a text message, homeowners will be so much more honest with you. And that's what I love about, I keep going back to text, but like texting does so much wonders, because people will say stuff to you over text that you may not be hearing over phone or in person.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And I feel like it's part of it, just the kind of the psychology of people that are in your text inbox are usually friends and family. And so if you get like another text, even if it's from a business, but it's just like it's sitting there next to all of your friends and family. And so you're like, yeah, okay. And you're kind of in that mode, I guess. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. Just trying to ask those questions and reveal kind of what was holding them back. I'm also curious to get your take on like amount of follow-up, because you said most salespeople don't follow up, right? Like if someone's like, no, or not right now, or, and then, maybe they follow up once, but probably not at all. Is there like a sweet spot where you see kind of a law of diminishing returns, where it's like, hey, if you follow up 10 times, like you're just wasting your time? Or
that's and because typically we follow up or we encourage contractors to follow up from 10 to 15 days after the appointment's run. So you run the appointment and you follow up with a series of text, emails, voicemails, phone calls. And with our product, we basically put that all in autopilot. We give contractors like the templates, the texts, the emails. We even tell them what voicemails to record and drop in people's phones. But the sweet spot really is like 10 to 15 days until they sort of become what we call dead leads that just like sit in your CRM. And it doesn't mean they're never going to ever buy from you. They just for some reason or another, like didn't respond to you and didn't want to deal with you. And that's just a good opportunity for you to kind of let those simmer in the CRM for 6-8 months and then go after them again. So it's important that when you guys are running these appointments and you're following up, that you're storing that appointment date inside your CRM so you can always reference that as you follow up in the future. Like even at this company Hatch, like we're following up with what we call like dead leads. So like we had folks that said, no, I'm not interested in buying Hatch, a year ago. And then a couple months ago, we released maybe a couple new features. We improved the product. We've done a lot of stuff, and we're able to bring back those leads to life. And we ended up closing a few of them through that process. So if you do processes like that, especially if you talk to a homeowner that says, hey, like now's not the right time, or bad price just is a no go for me. And then 6 months down the line, you start working with another manufacturer and can offer a cheaper product. Then you can go back to that homeowner and offer them, something that might be cheaper. So definitely 10 to 15 day follow-up. But even if they don't get back to you, always keep them in your CRM and go after them 6-8 months down the line, and also have a reason. So if they do respond and they say price, and you work your tail off to overcome the objection, you end up not overcoming the objection, make sure you mark the reason as to why they didn't buy from you. So that way you can reference that in the future when you go and try to nurture those folks, 6-8 months down the line.
Yeah, that's really good. Because I mean, I've talked about it too on past podcasts. Sometimes you'll end up signing a customer 2 years, 4 years, 6 years down the road, and sometimes we give up on those people, and Yeah, you're not going to be maybe sending them a text or an email every week or dropping a voicemail every week for 2 years. But, if you stay in touch periodically, or I like your, kind of re-engagement campaign idea as well. Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Well, Josh, maybe before we get to the last segment of our show here, tell us a little bit more about, I know you've kind of mentioned Hatch and a couple of things that you guys do, but I guess, what is it that you guys do specifically, and how are you kind of helping, remodelers and contractors?
Yeah. And thanks again for having me on. And I hope that, the practices that I was sharing today about, like, getting to leads fast and setting those internal SLAs and all that good stuff, like that is something that you guys can go out and implement in your business today, whether or not you explore a tool like Hat. But really what we are, guys, is we're a messaging app for contractors. We connect up to you all your lead sources, so your website, your home advisor, Modernize, Angie's List, you name it, to instantly message new leads that come in over text, email, voicemail. And then, throughout the sales process, we are able to continually engage them. So we connect up with your CRM to, listen to that lead disposition change. So for example, if you run an appointment and you mark inside the CRM, demo no sale or quoted no sale or something like that, whatever the use case is, we can automatically trigger a messaging campaign to go out, for example. And so we could do all that and basically put your entire sales process on autopilot with messaging. And as soon as a homeowner jumps in and responds to your message, you'll get a notification on your phone. You can jump in, have that conversation, and typically contractors are seeing anywhere from like a 7 to a 10% increase in their close rate when they use our tool. We work with, contractors both big and small across the US and Canada. And it's been a fun journey so far. We started off as it's funny, we started off as a consulting company for a window dealer here in Richmond, Virginia. So we were actually helping this window dealer sell windows by doing what we call rehash follow-up, where, leads that were quoted but didn't buy. We were basically doing rehash using a ton of different tools in that we could get access to. And then our founder was just like, we should build a product around this. And so we built a product around this. It's designed specifically for home improvement, remodelers, home services. So those of you listening to this podcast, it's designed literally just for you. And we've got a great team to help support you in your journey to help you, grow your business. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I find that too. A lot of the best products come from kind of scratching your own itch too. So that's cool to hear kind of the backstory there. Well, Josh, we always wrap our show with a segment called the Fast Five. So I'll hit you with 5 rapid fire questions and just say whatever comes to mind. First one's a softball. What's your favorite business book and why?
Oh my gosh. How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. Spencer, the sweetest sound ever is the sound of your name. Right, Spencer?
Yep. You got it. Yeah, no, that's a solid one. That's a classic. So I like it. All right. Next question is, who's the most inspirational person in your life?
My dad, hands down. He raised 6 kids. Dang. Killer guy, and supportive for the whole family. Great IT guy, brilliant mind. Yeah, no doubt.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Super cool. All right. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Speed. I'm a runner, a swimmer, and a cyclist. So any speed I can buy, I'll get.
I like it. So that'd be like Dash from The Incredibles or something like that. So.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Motivated, crazy, talkative.
All right. Very good. Final question. If you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would that be?
Listen to Bill Video. It's a great podcast. No, I mean, the best thing is learn from industry leaders. Learn what other contractors are doing. Like if you're a contractor and you want to grow to 10 million, for example, look at the contractor that's doing 10 million, see what they're doing in their business, what processes they put in place, and try to adapt those for your business. That's what I do every day. Like I work for, like, I don't want to say I'm just like you guys, but like Hatch we're 2 years young. We're a startup, we're growing quickly and we're growing the application and we're growing our team. But like, I'm learning from the people that have done this before me in software. So try to do the best you can to learn from other folks. There's a lot of great forums and tools and Facebook groups out there that can help you just learn from the best. And if you are using like different tools in your tool belt, usually they have like user groups on Facebook. So if you're using, specific CRM like HubSpot or something like that, there's really good user groups there that you can engage with and just learn from the best. And, engage with professionals that have done this before is the best way I can say it.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Look to people that have gone where you want to go, and that's going to be your fastest path. So I love it. Well, Josh, thanks so much for joining me today. This was great.
Yeah, it was fun, Spencer. Thank you. And thanks for the partnership. It's been great.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Yeah, we'll have some more news coming at you guys about our partnership with Hatch. But as always, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time here on Builder Funnel Radio.